It works for the moment.
Okay, we're live.
Live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Time to Shine Happiness Show. I am your one of the co-hosts, BB1. Tech sound issues. So here I am. I'm BB2. Anyway, so my name is Barbara Loonan Ellison, and I am your personality pro because personality drives reality. And right now, welcome to the Diamond Factor experience. And we are so grateful for Barbara Beckley, who is normally here too, to for giving us this platform to get our words out and to get our messages out and just to make a difference in the world. And I think that's what all of us are here to do. And so I
Yes.
am so excited to introduce my good friend and buddy, my coach, my mentor, just absolutely just, I mean, I love Regina. We've known each other for a while, but we met on LinkedIn. So, you know what? Some of your best friends will come from your outreach. And that's a little bit what we're going to be talking about today. Outreach, how to get in touch with people, how to use LinkedIn. And Regina has a great system that she uses on LinkedIn. We're going to be talking about that and just about how your business impacts your life and your life impacts your business. So, Regina, I am so grateful that you're here. You know what? But one of the things that we like to start with is like, how did you come to be where you are now? So, give us a little bit of your story. And I've heard it many times, but it's always a great story of going from success to not so success and to success and to success again, which is, you know what, we're all on the same journey. So,
That's
Regina,
right.
welcome to the Time to Shine Happiness Show.
Well, I am so happy to be here, Barb. It's wonderful. I really appreciate BB1 and BB2 inviting me to be a guest today. And Barb's right. We've known each other for a little while now, and we met
Yeah.
through LinkedIn, and it's just been a wonderful, growing relationship. We Barb mentioned that I mentor her, but she has also been a great source for me, a great resource, and I've learned a lot from my relationship with her. Um, and at some point, I want to come back to that word relationship. But
Okay.
my story, Barb talked about being successful, falling, and getting back up again. And that's happened more than once in my life. The biggest one, though, was with the crash of 2008.
Yeah.
I lost a 12 plus year business overnight. We were doing almost $5 million in revenue a year. We had 6 offices, 3 divisions, 25 internal employees, 200 employees that I had a staffing firm and we had them placed with our clients. And literally, we were out of business overnight with that financial crash. Our market just dried up.
Yeah.
So I spent the next couple of years just doing service work, um, going out with our local missionaries in our church, ministering to other people, and just being of service wherever I could be of service, and just kind of recovering from that.
Right.
And I then went on to the funny side story. My husband at the time, um, when we had moved to the community that we were in, he said, "Now, just so you know, this is not where I want to retire." I'm like, okay, that's fine. Well, 18 and a half years later, he said, "Just so you know, this is still not where I want to retire." And he still wasn't of retirement age. But I said, "Well, where do you want to retire?" And he didn't know. He just had always thought that he wanted to be on a lake somewhere. So we started doing a research around the country of where we wanted to go. And we found this wonderful little place on Lake Bridgeport, about an hour north of Fort Worth, Texas. Most people familiar with that name, Fort Worth. So
Yep.
Lake Bridgeport, we bought a home there. It was beautiful, 2-story home, and we turned it into a bed and breakfast, and ran that for about 5 years. Well, 2 years into that, my husband passed away.
Yeah.
And as Barb knows, that sometimes you can say that without emotion and
And
sometimes not.
you some, yep. David's been, and which is why I think why Regina and I have just absolutely, because when the same thing happens to me, we'll be talking and all of a sudden something will come up because David passed away 9 years ago.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even still, once in a
Still,
while,
yeah,
exactly what just
yeah.
happened happens.
Exactly what just happened.
But you know
And
what?
it's nothing you
It
know is going to happen. It
happens.
just suddenly is there. So
Yeah.
apologize for that. But
No
um,
apologies necessary, because you know that that's one of the things that I want our this environment to be. I want it to be real.
yeah,
And
it's raw and
and
real.
emotion is real,
It
because
is. It is.
those things that happens in our personal life, but it also happens. I mean, you lost your business.
I did, and that was a huge
Wow,
loss. I couldn't
that
leave
was
my
a
house for
huge.
2 weeks.
Yes.
I couldn't go out the door. You
And
know, I
so
was
there
just
are people out there right now, because you know what? Yes, we have just ended. We're the year from, you know,
yeah,
we're not going to talk about it, but
yeah,
so many
yeah.
people are
It
in
happens.
where you are and
Yeah,
where we are and where we were. But you know what?
yeah.
There is another side
There's
to that. So now
yes,
you
there
can go
is
on to the
light.
next part,
All
which
right.
is the
So
happy part.
just months before my husband passed away, something hit my desk of some coaching training for life coaching. And I thought, oh, I'd love to do that, but the timing is all wrong, you know?
Yeah.
And after he passed away, it came back around again. And I thought, okay, I've always been a coach of sorts. People have
Right.
always turned to me for answers to questions
Yeah.
and never understood why. And my purpose in life had always been to help people achieve their potential. And so it was right. And so I took that training and really thought I was going to go into life coaching with that. And by January of 2015, I discovered that I really wanted to move into the business side of it. And there are
Right.
several reasons for that. I have a major uh, love of marriage and family. I don't know how else to
Mhm.
put that,
Yeah.
but it is at the center of everything that we do. And I realize in part that businesses and marriages, you know, if that business owner is married,
Right.
the the family dynamics have an impact on the business owner and how he or she conducts their business.
Right.
The dynamics of the business have an impact on that business owner and how they conduct their relationships. And
Right.
so going into the business realm of coaching allows me to impact both, that I can help that business be successful and thereby help that family relationship, which is generational, right? Whether a
Right.
marriage
Exactly.
succeeds or fails has a generational impact because the children are impacted by it. I don't recall the statistics on it right now, but and we know that one in two marriages ends in divorce
And
in the
divorce.
U.S.
Yeah.
But there's also the generational impact of that. That
Right.
if you came from a family of divorce, there's a higher percentage of your marriage ending in divorce because that's the example that you have, right?
Right.
So as we heal those businesses and get them functional and profitable and
Right.
successful, we have an opportunity to influence the family relationships and heal those relationships so that becomes a positive generational impact. And we can reverse this divorce
Exactly.
epidemic. It's an
Right.
epidemic. If one in two
Right.
people are impacted, it's an epidemic. And that's just of the
Right.
couples, you know, then you have all the children that are
Right.
impacted. Yeah.
Right. Right.
So,
You know, and that's one of the things that you and I we've had lengthy conversations many
yes.
times, uh, just about this subject, because you know what, like with me, my mission is to make happiness the norm rather than the exception. Well, that starts with
Right.
ourselves too, and our
Right.
businesses.
Yes.
It
And
it
my motto
starts
is
it starts
save a
there.
business, save a marriage.
Right. Right. And in some ways, save a marriage, save a business. Because you
Exactly.
know it, because it's all interrelated. Like with me, when
Right.
I say that, you know, personality drives reality, every relationship that you have is affected by who you are, how you
Yes.
see yourself. And that's one of the things Regina and I, we were on our mastermind call yesterday. And that's one of the things that has really been clarified for me this year is that, you know what, there's a gap between how we see ourselves or others and how they perceive how we see them. And there's that gap.
Yep.
And that is what is so relevant right now, is that we need to have strategies and techniques and programs to help us learn to bridge that gap.
So well said. You know, one of the
Because
things that I love about what you're doing, Barb, is that in my staffing business, personality profiling was a huge part of our business. It is how we set ourselves apart in the staffing industry. And we literally had clients that we provided personality profiling for their employees that, you know, I had a client. Now I had 6 offices, right? I had
right,
a client who had 200 offices, and we did the personality profiling for them for their
wow,
200 offices,
yes,
one of my divisions. But it's so powerful. And you know, my husband and I, when I came across the tool that we used, which was the Rembrandt portrait, and we used the Myers-Briggs type indicator as
right,
well,
yeah.
for
I've
team
done
building.
Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, we use that for team building. It's not a validated hiring tool,
Hmm.
whereas the Rembrandt is. And so that's why we focused mostly on the Rembrandt, but then we would use the Myers-Briggs. But we had been married, I don't know, 30 plus years probably when I discovered that, or around 30 years. And we did those profiles, and it was just like, well, the lights went on.
Light bulb
Oh, you know,
moment.
I mean, we had a great relationship and a great marriage, but every marriage has its challenges, right? Every
Right,
relationship has its challenges. And it was
challenges.
just like so easy to see where the conflicts were and to understand where the other person was coming from.
Right,
And once you understand where they're coming from and you understand who they are,
right,
compassion kicks in. And
right,
now you're able to see them from a different light.
right,
And you see them from a place of who they truly are. And now you're relating to that instead of your perception of how they may
exactly.
be affronting you or offending you or
Right,
criticizing you in some way when that's not what they intend at all.
yeah,
Or their silence isn't meant to be anything other than they're focused on something, you
right.
know? And when
I
you
know that.
understand how they operate and communicate, it makes
Right.
all the difference in
Oh
the
yeah.
world.
That's like I look back on David, and when I learned bank, oh yeah, it was like, oh, that's why he would do stuff like that.
Exactly.
You know? And
Exactly. It
but
makes
on
so
the
much
same,
sense.
it made so much sense. I could look back on some of the things that he did that were like, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
And but you know what? I can look back now on the times where he just was like, seriously, Barb, what are you doing? Because he just didn't understand, because I now realize we were totally opposite, different personalities.
Right. Right. Same with
And
my husband and I. Yeah.
yes, but you know what? They always say opposites attract.
And
But
they do.
the thing is though, is once in a while those very things that attracted you in the first place, they turn around to be the biggest things. Like, oh, he's just such a pain in my ear. You know? And
Exactly.
I remember one time, and I'm going to tell on myself. One time I walked into church. I walked into church here, and my
Church. Okay.
girlfriend looked at me and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, if I could just string David up by his toenails, I would be fine. I'm right. And you know what? And I look back on that now and have no clue what I was so upset about. But we just were like at loggerheads of each other. And this was Sunday morning, and I walked into church, and he was on the worship team. And so then it was like, okay, we're in church. He's on the worship team. We're going to be going up in front of people to pray. We need to do something right at this moment to rectify whatever it is that's going on right now. And then we were able to go, okay, fine, yeah, let's just let this go. But right at that moment, and so can you see that happens in business relationships, and that's why businesses
Absolutely.
break up. Why
Absolutely.
partnerships? long-time partnerships break up. Like I remember one time my sister and I, we were a little bit of loggerheads because she was very like my husband. Yeah. So enough said. So, but one day we were sitting in the back seat of the car and we were on our way to breakfast. And we were sitting in the back because her husband was driving and another friend was in the front seat with him. The guys in the front, the girls in the back. And Liz and I were
Right.
nattering at each other.
Right.
And finally we looked at each other and went, okay, let's start over. Let's start over because we are going for breakfast. We are going to be having a nice time. We are not going to bring
Yep.
poor Roger and Lord into our squabble as sisters. So
Right.
let's talk about this. And the funny thing is that we realized that we were coming to exactly the same destination, but from a totally different point of view.
I find that to be the case 99.9% of the time. We're saying the same
Same
thing. We're
thing.
just saying it differently, and it's hitting the other person wrong.
Yeah. And it's
Can I come back to
exactly.
something you said, though,
Sure.
relative to the communication in business? And one of the things that I've always found extremely beneficial, and you've been a participant in this in our masterminds, and that is starting those meetings with those business people with prayer.
Yeah.
And in our mastermind, we begin and end with prayer. It's just so important to have that spirit in our meetings, and it puts everybody on the same page, I think.
Right. Yeah, and to guide, and because we all have different things, and we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses.
Yeah.
But that's why personality and how it impacts relationships, family, and business. That's why it's so fascinating because
Yeah,
it's
it
like,
is.
oh, I can look back on myself and it's like, oh, that's why I do that. Like, and BB1, we talk about this all the time. When she offered back in June that she wanted to do these shows within the Diamond Factor experience, she was like, Barb, I'd love to have you do a show on personality and to just, and the happiness, the happiness things that you do and getting in touch with who you are and what you want and what your purpose is. And let's do all sorts and have, and I'm like, oh, that would be wonderful. I said, oh, I'd love to have guests. And then, of course, it hit me that, well, that's not something I want to do on my own because my personality is that I want to be part of a team. And she's like, what? I said, Barb, come on and be my co-host that we can
Right.
do this and bring on guests that talk about everything. We talk about food, we talk about business, we talk about makeup, we talk about skincare, we talk about improv. We've had all sorts of guests on. And that is what is one of the things that I knew about me. I like to
Excellent.
be part of a team.
And
And
therefore
she's
you were
like,
able to move forward.
but Barb
Yeah,
was saying, but Barb, because she likes a little bit of the spotlight, which is great. We need everybody. We need
absolutely.
everybody. I am one of those that I want to be part of a team. And I
Yeah.
like being a co-host. And because that's where I get my joy. Doing it on my
Yeah.
own, I wouldn't have lasted.
Yeah.
I'll tell you honestly, I would have lasted doing this
Right.
every week on my own. I love
I
doing it
agree.
occasionally on my own. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But every week doing it on my own, not my,
Yeah.
not my, not how I work. I love being part of a team.
Can
And
we
when
take
you
that
know that,
team?
sure,
Can we take that team piece a little further?
sure, absolutely.
Using
That's what this
what
is a free
you
flow.
know, using what you know about personality,
Yeah,
it so impacts how you put together that team. And let me give you an
exactly.
example.
Yep.
When we were first starting off in the personality profiling part of our business in the staffing firm, we partnered with a local bank, our local bank, to go in and profile all of their employees
Hmm.
and then to come back and do some training around that. But from that profiling, some of the things that happened were they wound up taking a gal who was back in a back office, like in accounting or something, and making her the president's secretary,
Yeah.
out front desk president's secretary. Totally changed where they had her in the organization. And there
Right.
were other placements that happened the same way. There
Mhm.
were also the elements of where they found within particular departments where there was one hiring manager in that department. Everybody's profile looked just like that hiring manager's
Right,
profile.
right. So nothing gets done.
Because we hire, yeah, because we hire who we relate to,
Exactly.
and we relate to those people who are like us.
Yes,
And so
exactly.
so their department was out of balance. It didn't have enough of the different personality types
Personality.
in it to really do the job. And so
Mhm.
we found that over and over again in that process.
Yeah.
But it was wonderful that the HR director is the one who brought me in. And it was just wonderful that he was so open and receptive,
Right.
and they took that information and corporately made changes in their organization that
Right.
made them a stronger
Right.
organization. They also began to see the strengths of some of their employees that they may have downplayed or not recognized
Right. Or
previously,
over or just overlooked.
or
That,
just
that
overlooked,
yeah.
and thought of them as a minor employee, and now
Yeah.
realized that they were something more than that.
Right.
And so it's really important that we not only know those personalities, but understand how they all interrelate and bring something different to the table.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I
I
loved our
remember.
working personality. It was
Oh,
one of my passions.
it's
Yeah.
fascinating. And when I was in, my actual training and getting my certifications and becoming a trainer and learning it, and I am by no means a master. I'm learning something new every day about personality. But one of the exercises that we did was we had 3 days of team, and there was one of all the different personalities of each one of our four basic personalities
Right.
on the team, and we were given tasks to do.
Awesome.
Oh, so enlightening of,
Yeah.
oh, right. And so this is one of the things that I am so excited to teach people is that, you know what? Hey, you know what? We every personality has its gifts.
Amen.
There might be your idiosyncrasies that drive you around the bend, but you know what? When you can understand them, but we all have them. We
Yep.
all have them. And when you can see, it's like, oh, right. Like I have to admit, I came to appreciate the planning part of David, and he came to appreciate the little bit more spontaneous, well, let's just go out and help people part of me.
Right.
It would have been so much easier if I had known then what I know now.
Yeah.
It would have made the learning curve so much not as dramatic and not as
Right.
long. And that's
Yeah.
my goal, and that's my goal of for everybody. Let's speed up the learning curve about
Yeah.
yourself and about the people around you.
Yep.
Oh, right. And it is just so fascinating when to see the light bulb go on. Yeah, like one of my gals, she just had her and her husband, and she said, "Oh, Barb, it was just grins and giggles because it was like so enlightening for her when because he did do the my little assessment, and but then she got to read it. Oh yeah, she said, "Oh, brother, Barb." And exactly, and I think that's one of the things that I really use with teams and with clients is that, you know what, everybody do the personality assessment and then compare.
Yes.
And it just
Absolutely.
because don't you think, from a marriage perspective and from a relationship perspective, so often people run into problems and they don't know how to address it. They don't know how to start the conversation
So
without it
true.
turning into being a controversial battleground.
And
Like,
that's so true. I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you there,
nope,
Barb.
nope, nope. That's it. But
That
that's it,
is
because it doesn't matter what assessment you use. Like there are over, like I'll tell you, there are over 200 different personality assessments. For myself, and I've done a lot of them. I've done a
right.
lot of them. I've done the color wheel, and I've done Myers Briggs, and I've done MBTI, and I've done several kinds of discs. And because they're all slightly different. I've done the color wheel.
Yeah.
I've done the animals. I've done the gems. I've done them all, a lot of them. Anyways, but for me, bank. has been the easiest one to do because it's based on values. It's what we
Mm,
value.
right.
And when you can get in touch with what people value, it makes all the difference, because what they value impacts what they do.
Right.
And for salespeople,
Absolutely.
that can be how they buy or don't buy.
Right.
And for a relationship, how they connect or how they don't connect.
Right.
And that is what is the most fascinating thing for me about bank. And plus you do it in less than 90 seconds. And then you get a free report. And they've done studies now. And then Sherry, the founder, I mean, she's taught it. She's taught this at Harvard. She has taught it at the United Nations.
Yeah.
It is just because people worldwide are realizing that personality impacts everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Everything.
And like we mentioned earlier, when you understand the personality of the other person, it allows compassion to come into that relationship instead of
Yeah,
judgment.
right. So
Because
let me
we
ask
tend
you,
to, yeah,
no,
sure.
let me ask you a business question then.
Okay.
Because like we've been talking about personality and in sales and in business and stuff, but one of the things that I find fascinating is that because the business itself has its own personality based on the leadership of the company.
Exactly. Yes.
And so how does that, like you teach profitability.
Right.
How does that like trickle down to the grunt people from the top to the bottom? How does that
The
how does the
personality piece.
personality the piece
I think it's
of the person?
extremely important. An example is when I had my staffing firm, when we took on a new client, we would profile the leadership of that client.
Right. Okay.
We wanted to know who they were. When they gave us a position to fill, we wanted to profile that supervisor because we wanted to make sure that our person that we sent could do the job. So had tests to do that, that they fit the culture and that they could work with
Right.
that supervisor and that supervisor could work with them.
Right.
And so it does start at the top and it does need to come all the way down and it needs to be part of the culture that, we want that best fit. We want this
Right.
person to succeed in our organization and our organization to succeed because of them.
Right. And so that
And
leads to the profitability of the company.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely leads to profitability. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Can I go back to something you said earlier
sure.
that I wanted to share a little funny story with you? You talked about you and your husband and him being the more pragmatist and you being more spontaneous. And
Yep.
when we were taking my daughter to college, we lived in southern Utah at the time, and we were taking her up to Idaho for college. And we took off. Oh, I could tell you other stories of this too, but we took off and we got to about Denver. And my husband said, "Well, where are we staying tonight?" And I said, "I don't know."
Yeah. Boy, that sounds familiar. That's David and I. Yeah.
What? I didn't make any plans. I didn't know how far we'd get today. Oh, so then I had to get on the phone or whatever and work at getting some kind of a reservation. Well, where do you want to stop? There's this and this
Yep.
and this ahead of
Yep.
us. But I mean, we just took off. We did that once in our early years before we had a child.
Yeah.
And we took off and we had a little Porsche 914 car. And I was good. I had gone to the bank and gotten traveler's checks for our trip. I had done some of those things. Of course, then I forgot to take the traveler's checks out of the pocket of my garment and I threw it in the laundry. You
Oh
don't want
no.
to know what happens to traveler's checks when
And
they
so you
get
put them in the
washed.
laundry. Yeah. Right.
So then we had to stop in Denver to get more traveler's checks to get those replaced. But we left, and I thought, okay, and it was a holiday weekend. No reservations had been made by either of us. Of course, he never dealt with any of that.
Right.
And so we get down the road, and I'm thinking, okay, well, we'll stop at such and such place. Reno, I think it was. And we'll see if we can get a room there for the night. Well, it was the holiday weekend. They had a big car show in town.
Yep.
There wasn't a room to be had. They said the nearest room is in Sacramento. Well, that was the wrong direction. We were headed east. That was
And that's west. Yes. Been there, done
so
that.
we got back in the car and we just kept driving. Now, this is a little two-seater car. This is an important piece, a little two-seater sports
Two-seater
car that we're
car.
driving in. And so we drive and we drive, no vacancies, no vacancies,
No
no
vacancies.
vacancies. We finally pull off in a gas station and sleep in the car for a couple of hours.
Done that too, for just this reason.
Yeah, got up the next morning and when we hit Salt Lake City, I think it was, first hotel we found, we stopped.
Yes.
So, okay, this is it. We're staying for a little bit.
Exactly. And so, that's why, I got to appreciate the planning part of
Yeah,
David, because he would
exactly.
have all these plans out. And
Yeah,
because there were a couple of times, oh, brother,
yeah.
no, there's no
My
vacancy now, maybe 30 miles down the
yeah.
road. And
Nope,
it was,
nothing there
oh,
either.
and nothing. It was, yeah. So
Yeah,
anyway, so Regina, this has been absolutely wonderful.
it's been
We have
fun.
great conversations. So now a parting tip
Parting tip.
and and also what are you excited about? Because now we're going into a new year, a new decade, and this has been dubbed the year of woman energy of collaboration and
Yeah,
connection and rather than competition.
right,
So
right.
what what are
So
you
what was the
looking
first half of
forward
that
to?
question again?
What are you looking forward to
Okay, yes.
for for this new year,
Yeah,
and a little tip to
and a tip.
for and a tip.
And a tip. So I am excited that first of all, the beginning of the year is one of my most favorite times because it is new beginnings. It
Right.
is an opportunity at the end of the year to look back, even if it was a 2020 year, to
Right.
look back, see what worked, see what didn't work, how you can improve on things, and to make plans for stepping into the future. And I love those new beginnings. I love Mondays for the same reason. They're an
Hmm.
opportunity to correct, to improve, to move forward. And most people hate Mondays and love Fridays. I love Mondays because
Right.
they're a new
It can be
beginning,
new
and I
beginning.
love new beginnings.
That,
And so we have planned our year. We'll see if there's anything like last year that throws plans out and you have to pivot. But we have a plan for the year, and I'm excited about it because we're going to get to help a lot of people.
right.
So we have a weekly master class that we do, which is free. And we serve about 8 to 12 people in that master class. And
And
it
we're
is
gonna
a
put and
month.
we'll put a link to that.
Awesome. Thank
We'll
you.
put a link to that in the show notes. Barb BB1 will be
Excellent.
doing that. So if you'll send us a
Okay.
link, and that'll be, and so then it'll be there.
Excellent.
And hey, and I've participated in a couple of Regina's, and they're great. Practical information, step by step, things that you can do today.
Implementation. Absolutely.
Implementation. And I think that's going to
Absolutely.
be the year for that's going to be a big word for this year is
Yeah.
implementing.
Right. Implementing. I
So
think you're absolutely right. I think that is a great word for this year.
for this year.
So we have our weekly masterclass on marketing and profit. And then we also will also be doing summits this year, and we have 8 summits planned.
Wow. Cool.
And so excited about those. The first one is this month, the 21st through the 23rd of this month, and it's called Health, Life, and Business. Uh, and how to
Okay.
supercharge those 3 areas of your life.
Right.
And a tip. Gosh, there's so many I could give.
Right. I know you're because you are a wealth. You are a wealth.
I guess I'll give you one that was given to me recently that I'm finding great value in. And that is, I've been told in the past, okay, write a letter to yourself at the beginning of the year and put it in an envelope and date it, and you open it up on that future date. Or maybe it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now, and you're describing the success that you've done. But somebody gave me a little different take on that recently, and I really like it. And it was the last thing I did just before I got on this call. And that is to write that out as though it is December 31st of this year, and in detail, and I love Barb's version of this. We talked about it yesterday in our mastermind. But write out in detail the things that have happened that year, the things you've accomplished, the outcomes you've achieved, and I encourage you to handwrite it. There is value in going from the brain to your hand and writing it. There's a connection there. And then another step that you can do is to then take that and record it in your own voice. So you have the option
Okay,
of
I'll do that.
either reading it to yourself every day or put it on a recording in your own voice saying I, so it has to be, first person, present tense, and every day listen to it and see how much faster your reticular activating system helps
You're
you
right.
achieve those goals, because that's its purpose, is to help you get what you want.
Right.
And so it filters out, other things. So as you're putting that in there every day, it knows what you want. And it's going to help you move faster to find those things and achieve them. Do it for all areas of your life, your emotions, your relationships, your finances, your business, everything about your life. What does it look like 1 year from now when you've achieved all the things that you set out to do this year? Maybe it's better health. What does that look like? Maybe it's, and what kind of clothes are you wearing with this better health? Have you lost weight and you're able to wear something that you've wanted to wear forever and couldn't? What does your relationship with your spouse and your children look like, or friends, or all of that? Spell it all out. I'm still writing on mine. I'm at 3.5 pages and I'm still writing, but I'm
Right.
still reading it every day to myself. And when I finish writing it, then I'll record it.
Right.
But yeah, there's
Yeah.
so much value in doing that and helping you see your future and then create it.
Right. Because our subconscious never sleeps. So one of the things, like
True.
lots of times, I will listen to things as I'm going to sleep
Yeah.
because your
Great thing to listen
subconscious,
to as you're going to
and
sleep.
this I'm going to do this. I'm going to record mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Regina, this has been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the Time to Shine Happiness Show. And and thanks again to Barb Beckley for for to just be part of the Diamond Factor experience, and just letting us come together and talk about business, talk about happiness, talk about personality. And you know what? It is just because it's all part of life.
It is
It is
a huge
all
part.
part of life. And and I think one of my favorite sayings is that we can't do life on our own.
Yeah.
And this
It
is
is a team
why
sport.
this is just absolutely amazing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This was great, Barb Beckley. Thank you for doing the back part of this. I'm sorry you're still not able to come on. This is, you know what,
I
tech,
missed seeing you, Barb Beckley. I was looking forward to that.
yeah, your tech issues. But you know what, but that's one of the things too for this year is that last year there was a lot of issues. But you know what? It's over. Let's let them go. I think that's my tip. That's my big tip for the end of the show, is that last year is behind us.
Yeah.
It's gone. It's done. It's over with. If something has gone wrong, don't fixate it. If something has gone right, celebrate it. We don't celebrate, especially women. We do not
Yeah.
celebrate our accomplishments. Go back
So
and look.
true.
Hey, you know what? Like for me this year, my big thing was clarity. Who do, who am I, and what do I want, and who do I want to work with? Clarity. I have gotten that. I am so excited moving forward. There were some things not so good. Not so good. Okay, Mark, let it go. You can't do
Let
anything
it go.
about it. Let it go and
That's
move
right.
on. And move on. So you know what? This is a new year, a new month, a new year, a new decade.
Yeah.
So exciting. So exciting. Anyways, Barb is going to be stopping the show any second now. So, hey, if you're here on the replay, put a hashtag replay. We're going to be putting the show notes, how to get in touch with Regina, how to get into her mastermind. And so it is just going to be awesome. And we are right at 40 minutes. So this is perfect. Regina, thanks again. This was a blast.
Such a joy. It was a joy to be with you
We'll
again, Barb. Love it.
yeah, we'll